Hi guys, I just wanted to do a little live today as promised on the acronym that I posted this morning, which was how to trust all the time. And I wanted to also talk to you about my positive on purpose jar and a few things that I do with my clients, and also how I write all my notes out. But this is really what I'm going to be talking about today. So it's the acronym of T.R.U.S.T, trusting. So we hear all the time, oh, you've got to trust yourself, you've got to trust the process, you've got to trust the bank, whatever else, don't trust those guys. But what is important is that do we even understand what trust really means? And when's the last time you really, truly, congruently trusted yourself? Hi guys. Hey Caitlin, I hope you're well. So this message today, I just filmed for an episode for my show around how to do this with some show notes. But if you haven't already, you can go and check out the Truth series on the YouTube channel Vitality Coach TV, and you can also check out episode 136, which is how to trust all the time, so how to always have faith. This is the follow-up from that. This is teaching you the deeper level to building trust within yourself. So what I want to do is kind of explain how that works to you, and then hey, how's it going? It's so good to see you. I can't wait for you to see how you're following up. How's the land of the living over there? So this little element here that I'm going to show you, and I will take a screenshot. I don't know quite how to do that, but you can take a screenshot. Look, these are my drawings. If you coached with me before, you'll know the little dictionary drawings. The first part of trusting is we all need to have the truth. So if this is all about trusting yourself, you've got to understand what is your truth. And you can't be afraid of it, right? You can't sit in the safe zone of being afraid to kind of own your truth because of blame, shame, guilt, or fear. Like, that's actually what keeps everyone stuck. And if you think about it, that's how we're actually brought up. From a very young age, you'll all remember the first time you got told off, right? It's a jarring effect, and all of a sudden that breaks down the ability to trust, because before that you were fearless. You were just like when babies walk across that big glass ceiling. So the whole point is that you've got to understand that you have to learn the difference between limiting beliefs and really trusting yourself. So you've got to have that whole new connection back with yourself. That means not being afraid of the truth. Now that requires you to kind of unpack. I've got a diagram around this as well. You've got to avoid staying in the perceived safe zone. So most people don't get out of the safe zone to trust because they don't want blame, shame, and guilt. So they're like, oh, I don't even want to open Pandora's box. But let me tell you, it is so worth it. And when you do that, you'll be able to live, work, plan, play, and have visionary ideas without fear of rejection or abandonment, because you're totally replete and backing yourself. And that's what this is all about. We hear a lot now in the media, on Instagram. There's so many books about motivation and faith and trust and mindfulness and everything else. That sounds really easy, but then when it comes down to making a conscious decision or backing yourself or having a brave conversation, often people shy away from that change. So if we don't evolve, we can't have a revolution. If we can't evolve as individuals, we can't have a society that has more compassion, more kindness, more commercial acuity, and there is enough for everybody. But if we stay in lack, fear, shame, and guilt, then all we're going to do is feed into that system of being too afraid to change. So my challenge to you by giving this information is by ensuring that you can take the leap of faith and trust the gap in between leaping and landing. I've spoken about this on my show before, how to trust the gap between leaping and landing. And that is where you really, really, really have to trust yourself. So the first part of trusting is understand the T stands for truth. That is like, what is your truth? And it's absolutely essential that you own it. If you work with me, we get to that usually really quickly, and it can be really confronting, but at the same time, it's completely liberating. And when you can stand in your truth, and when you can understand your truth and you can face it, that fear suddenly disintegrates. And you don't need to stay stuck in that story for too long as well. Recognize it, and having awareness for that truth and understanding what your sovereign truth is the very first step. And then I always say your ego is not your amigo. So there's other podcasts on this. Just go to my YouTube channel or go to thevitalitycoach.com.au and type that in, and it'll come up with a million blogs about it. But this is our biggest thing, right? Awareness is not enough. We don't have to be aware of the limiting self-talk. We don't have to be aware of some injustice thing or something that happened in the past. It's what we do next that really counts. And that is the ability to say, I'm going to leave that baggage on the carousel and I'm going to pick up and back myself and go forward, because I'm my future, I'm not my past. Very, very important. You are your future, you are not your past. And that happens immediately, and we have no time like the present. So you have to back yourself, because at the end of the day, you are responsible for being in the driver's seat of your life. People can't do things to you. Life doesn't do something to you. That's purely a perspective. That's a convenient opt-out. When people say, oh, Nikki, I'd love to have so much energy, but I'd really love to start my business, but I'd really love to save for a house, but. If you hear yourself saying but all the time, it's not because you're in some really cool rapper video. It's because you're making constant excuses that you don't want to evolve. So you have to ask yourself, what is holding me back from growth and change and integrity and owning up and trusting myself? So that is, you got to dig deep for the truth. Now, if you haven't already discovered it, hop onto my link in the bio. Hi, Lisa. Hop onto the link in the bio and you'll see the Truth series. Click that and it'll take you straight to how to unpack your truth and have those difficult conversations. The second part of trust is the R. It's a pirate R, and it is for resonate, which means if you don't have something that doesn't truly resonate in here and it's all up in your head, then you're just going to be in a world of pain. Not only are you just going to constantly be in an argument and a war with yourself about what's wrong and what's right and should I do this, and oh my God, I'm exhausted just even trying to talk to you about it, but it won't give you a peace of mind and a settled feeling to go, I'm going to ground my energy because this is really important to me. Let me say that again. When you have something that resonates with you, all the noise stops. You ground your energy because it's really important to you. That's the stuff that you need to chase. That's the stuff that you need to put your time and energy into. You need to stop chasing shiny object syndromes and what everyone else has, and start being and embodying the person and the life that you really love, that is your truth. It takes a little bit of unpacking, but once you've got there, oh my goodness, it's really worth it. And then you can have this incredible space to make conscious decisions. But until you do that, you're making most of your decisions on the law of the average, on subconscious, of what everyone else is doing, and you're not anchored in your truth. So trust starts from being anchored in your truth and checking that truth. Does that resonate with me? Very, very important. And then the third thing, which I always love to talk about, it's all over the internet, it has been for ages, it's the law of the universe, right? So this third part of trust is the U, and that's the universe. I'll give you my little diagram here. Look at that, all nicely underlined here. What on earth does that mean? Well, that means you can't just trust conveniently when it helps you, and you can't just ask other people to trust you if you're not going to show up and be trustworthy yourself. The first way to do that actually is to back yourself and show up for yourself. If you promise yourself something, if you told yourself that your kids' education is important, or you want your daughters to be empowered, or you want your savings to improve, or you want your health and well-being to improve, that's a private journey, right? So show up for yourself with those promises. You know, it's not about putting it all over the internet. It's actually about the conversation you have with yourself, to going, you know what, Nikki, you matter. You're so important to me that I'm going to show up for myself. I'm going to be fearless. I'm going to make adult decisions to make sure that my actions meet my goals. And then you start building a foundation of trust, because you start building confidence with consistency. Let me say that again. When you show up for yourself, you start building confidence with consistency. Very, very, very important. What that does is it pushes you all the way through the trust word to the magic S for sovereignty. A word again that is all over the place at the moment. You be your sovereign self. Guys, you should be sovereign. Women, you be sovereign. What's our sovereign state? You know, it's incredible that we're asked to be sovereign, but I don't think anyone has really explained what that means. So let me just tell you in layman terms. It means 100% owning your own shit and being yourself. It means knowing who you are. So I think what happens is a lot of our sovereignty has been taken away from a really, really young age, because we've had to conform to fit in. We've had to finish a test, get a certificate. you know, I don't know about you guys listening, but in my generation, there was certain schooling and education system, and I was always like a little bit like left field in how my brain worked with an incredible imagination. I didn't fit into that. So my creativity and my artwork and sports were ways for me to kind of expand my thinking. But it didn't mean that I did really well in certain normal areas, right? So my sovereignty, my own Nikki, was kind of, you know, suppressed and squashed and quietened down and kind of molded into what was termed to be the best education system. And it wasn't until recently that it all makes sense now, that all those little magical parts, those kind of what we used to call unicorn things that we all have, they're so special because we're all required in this life to show up as our sovereign selves, owning our own decisions, making conscious cash flow decisions, understanding there's nothing to fear, bringing our creativity, our personality, our individualism, and our beautiful filters in a neutral way to anything that we do. So not a way to persuade, not a way to manipulate or control, not a way to force our thinking upon someone else, but to say, hey, this is me, this is how I show up, you know, so, you know, nice to meet you. And then to congruently be that all the time without fear of judgment. That is a real gift. And if you can start to practice that now and unpack that, whatever age you are when you're listening to that, you will start to build trust in yourself, and you will notice how the world around you becomes more trustworthy, right? So our outer world is a reflection of our inner state. We hear it all the time, but it's absolutely true. So if you've got a lot of drama around you, it's probably because there's a lot of drama inside and you're not sure who you are, what you're doing, what you want, and it's a very exhausting place to live in. So if you have a quiet time right now, I implore you to go and listen to the T.R.U.S.T series, write down what really matters to you. If you haven't heard about my 4 quadrants of communication, is I think, I want, I need, and I feel, those are really powerful quadrants to really identify just for yourself or even a difficult, brave conversation with someone else. So coming back to this little acronym here, the Nikki acronym of trust in my beautifully laid out diagram. Don't you like it? We have here the last word. So I hope I've explained sovereignty, which is, you know, owning up for who you truly are. So we don't need to get a title of who we should be bestowed upon us. We should be able to be truly ourselves, and that sovereignty is really freeing and liberating, but it comes with a sense of responsibility because all of our actions have a ripple effect. And when we trust, when we're in truth and it resonates and we're doing the law of the universe, which is reciprocal energy, and when we're sovereign in ourselves, that is timeless. And that is why trust is super cool, right? So you have your truth, it resonates, it's universal, you're in your sovereign self, and it's timeless. And what happens when you're like that? The fight goes out of life because you're like, I'm backing myself, this is where I'm at, and you know there's no need for persuasion. And then you're gonna get the Nikki energy. Then you're gonna start having the clarity of vision, the ability to understand your body when it needs to rest, time away from conversations so you can hear yourself think clearly, and you can truly listen to the wisdom that lies within. So the show that I just recorded for one of my podcast episodes, I talk about the journey from awakening and kind of understanding that you can have your life as you want it, the innocence, to then being smacked back by humankind because not everyone's going to think like you, and then maturing into the wisdom that that's not your job to convince anyone else to think like you. Your job is to show up for yourself. And when you take that full ownership and really unpack your own skills and creativity and truly learn the art of trusting yourself, then you can do something really cool, which is you can be in this magic zone here, this trust zone, another one of my dictionary diagrams, where instead of staying in the perceived avoidance safe zone where you don't do anything so then you won't get blamed, there's no guilt or shame, you can move across into your truth. And when you're in truth, you have your confidence, you have consistency, and you have clarity. And that is a really energizing way to live. It doesn't mean that you're falsely energized. It doesn't mean that you're living in an innocence that isn't grounded in wisdom. It just means that you don't have to convince anyone. It means that you don't have to put on a mask every day. And it means that you can start being the change that you want to see in creating a trustworthy environment. And I think that's really important for me as a coach, and as anyone with a channel and a platform. You know, I had to come through this myself because I'm not like 80 years old and wearing a bunch of beads and talking about, you know, quantum decision making, but that's actually me. You know, I think for a long time I hid behind that because I thought blonde Energizer bunny, and everyone just thinks I talk about fitness, but really this intellect and neuroscience and neurodiversity and the high degree of intellectual conversations I have with my clients, that's what lights me up. And that's really my purpose, is to bridge the gap of possibility and how you guys can kind of create that in your lives in a very, very practical way, without kind of turning everything upside down, you know. And that's kind of why I wrote, shameless plug, this book, how to go from overwhelm to calm and to get out of chaos and sustainable success. It's all up here. A lot of athletes at a young age, they get this mental training on how to harness your positive thoughts and how to actually train the brain to excuse all the limiting self-beliefs and move away from that. Remember, I always tell you, you're never going to eradicate the naysaying head, the black wolf, but you can choose what wolf to feed, and you've got to choose the white wolf. You've got to choose the positivity. You've got to be in the driver's seat. You can't go, oh yeah, Nikki, that sounds great, but what do we say about butts? You're not in a hip hop movie, right? You're not in some kind of like yo rapper thing. It's not about butts. We don't have any butts here. We have, okay, I'm going to give it a go. I back myself. I will be fearless. I will make adult conscious decisions. I have a limited time in this planet to make a positive impact for my own life. And by doing that, by taking accountability, by understanding the acronym of TRUST, and I'll just bring that little diagram back again, isn't it sexy? Truth, resonance, universal, your sovereign self, and then you've got this timeless loop. It enables you to step out of feeling stuck and confused and kind of in this archaic system with, I don't know, fear. Fear is a really, really dangerous place to sit. To face that fear, front on, full on, write it all down, just go after it. And then go, I'm going to swap that with curiosity. And that's why I use the rally analogy in the book and in my coaching. By the way, if you get this, you get all the worksheets as well as a full PDF. I use it because I think we have to suit up in this life. You know, it's not about pristine conditions and kind of lint being picked up off for us. It is about mud and rain and hail and everything's happening. Just when we think something's good, we get another kind of like left field, or there's a roadblock or a dead end. And that's what a rally is like. A rally is all seasons, all conditions. You have a great pit crew, you have an excellent co-driver, you surround yourself, you create a really robust car with a good engine, you put the right fuel in it. That's what you should approach your life as an individual, you know. This is it, you're right in the middle of it. Stop wishing this time away and going, that really sounds good, Nikki, but, because well, what do we do here? We don't do any buts anymore. We go, right, I'm gonna learn how to trust. I'm gonna learn how to discover my truth. I'm going to unpack that and make sure that it resonates with me right in here, like really deep in here. And if it doesn't need to be on my list. You know, that's the other thing about gossip or approaching people or rising above things. We're not in a society anymore where I think it's okay to go, well, I just rise above it. I think there are some instances we have to say, hey, that's not okay. Or I don't agree with that. It doesn't mean that you have to fight someone over it, but you're allowed to stand up for your own point of view with grace and calm and integrity and go, that doesn't sit well with me. And we're just not used to that as a society. You know, we're used to it being billboarded in a political environment, but in everyday situations, we need to make it safe for our children. We need to make it safe for our friends to go, hey, I didn't really like how you spoke to me like that, and go, well, I'm really sorry. So having the humility to understand that we all make mistakes, and then going, wow, that's a real opportunity to learn and to lean in and to suit up and to give it another go. Then you've got some amazing checkpoints in your life. And you know, some friends will carry all the way through and some friends won't, but that's evolution and growth, right? I read this really cool quote, I think when I was 12 years old. It was by Jane Fonda, and it was like, you fall in love and you stay in love with people that grow with you. And that's whether it's romantic or business or friendships. I think it's so true. So the ability to grow yourself and the ability to grow around people gives us the ability to evolve. And I said this in the beginning, I'll say it again now, if we don't evolve as individuals, we don't have a revolution as humanity. And we're always evolving, you've got to choose in which direction. And if you stay stuck because resistance is persistence, then you're going to generally keep getting the same results, the same disappointments, and attract the same outcomes. So my challenge to you today is to use my little sexy acronyms here. You can screenshot or download the quote cards, by the way, and to start understanding what your truth is and going, you know what, it's really important to me, even if it's just one or two things. And to go, well, I'm going to give a universal law of trust. I'm going to be trustworthy. I'm going to trust myself. and I'm going to congruently do that all the time. Not just when it's convenient, not when it's easy, but when it's actually more challenging. I'm going to show up trustworthy and reliable and on point and honest all the time. And then you're going to be sovereign by doing that, because there's no persuasion required, there's no control or manipulation or salesmanship required, because you know what you get. And then you have a timeless ability to trust. And that, I think, is the most incredible skill we can have as an individual, is to know that no matter what is going on around us, we have the ability to trust ourselves. And that is your foremost responsibility, because then you can go and help other people. Then you have the energy to grow and evolve and build on what you're doing. But don't look outside for trust if you haven't built that on the inside. Leadership is a really, really important inside job. I hope today's video today has helped you with that. Lots of cool messages. And if you've got any questions, let me know. But I'll post this a little bit later. So hi Cindy, miss you guys. I think Baja must have been amazing. Hi Fee, and thank you for joining everybody. I'm just gonna try and do this really cool. I'm not very good at all this tech stuff, but I'm doing my best. And most of all, I hope this helps you learn the art of trusting, that it's your truth, that it has to resonate, that it's universal, that you've got to be your sovereign self. And when you can do that, then you've got something really, really timeless and magic. So come join me on Vitality Coach TV on YouTube, the Mojo Maker podcast, and also you can buy Adulting, the Rally of Life on my website for signed copies. And I just hope today that you realize that you're already enough, and it's not about having to be anything different. It's actually just about discovering how magic you already are. And therein lies a really, really cool journey to create, to trust your ideas, to enjoy your life, and to start figuring out what your vital ingredients are. So have a really cool day, whatever time you're watching this, wherever you are, just stay true to you. It's worth it. It might take a little bit of time to unpack that, but hey, you can always ask me questions, right? And the book is designed to be your essential roadmap for this life that we're in. And if you can see it like a rally instead of, a racetrack, then I think you're going to have a lot more fun. So hi, hi Megan, nice to see you. Pretty cool. So does anyone have any questions? Dave, do you have any questions? Don't know who's watching anymore. I think you are. Apart from that, I wish you guys a trifecta of healthy, wealthy, and wise. Thank you so much for tuning in. Come follow me if you're not already on Instagram, and please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Vitality Coach TV. And I hope this has been insightful and educational, and that resonates with you and you're taking something away. And go and be awesome. Okay, see you next time. Bye.